And welcome into our overtime segment here at SportsSource.tv. Appreciate you joining us. Joined today, I thought Bob Hodge was going to be with us, so if you're upset, where's Bob? Which means you're either his wife or his kids. He had to take off. So we are here with Isaiah Victor, Mark Pankratz, Jimmy Himes. All right, most of the Twitter questions are coming in on football. You guys can jump in if you wish. I'll aim the basketball stuff at you two. All right, we're going to be kind of quick on all these. We talked about Northwestern being a blowout in the show, so we won't get to that one here. How is Florida more attractive than Tennessee? All right, we put some numbers up there. They won the East. They beat Tennessee. Any other idea? I mean, to me, it's not hard to see why Florida would get the slot over Tennessee. They beat them head-to-head.
Well, I would agree with that. You pointed out those two things. Also, Florida has, like 18 million people in that state, and Tennessee has a little over 6 million. So the TV viewership is going to help a little bit with Florida's case. So I think there's a pretty good argument for Florida to go over Tennessee based on those three things.
Yeah, I think you can make a case either way. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could. To me, I'm not ruling out the Citrus Bowl, but I think when all things are equal, and the Citrus Bowl has come out and said, here are our scenarios. We take Florida, or Florida's not available. We look at these teams. Okay, that's a pretty good sign they're looking Florida, unless they're feeding you misinformation. Basketball recruiting, we talked a little bit about that during the show. Thoughts on what Rick Barnes said, and I think he said this Tip-Off Club, is he laid a foundation at Texas. He right now is recruiting for needs, which is what he did down there. Kevin Durant didn't come in his first year, his second year at Texas. I know you're a believer. Barnes, Nike make you smile.
Oh, yeah.
Are you as confident, Mark Pankratz, in him being able to flip a switch?
Yeah, I think
Does he need to?
Let's get it. I mean, if there was a 5-star that he could go get right now, he'd go get him. Right? I mean, he's not going to turn those away. But he is. His philosophy is laying the foundation of 4-year type guys in his system to teach the newer guys that are more talented. I do believe that he's going to be able to recruit at a high level at this place. He's gotten some good kids, and I think it'll just kind of uptick. Let's not forget what has gone on within this program the last 5 years from a recruiting side is something that still is a cloud over this current staff to be able to recruit at this level. It is what it is. But I do believe that Coach Barnes, Nike, they're going to be able to get really talented guys.
You mean just because we've had 4 coaches in the last, 7 years, that's a problem? That hurts recruiting? Let me ask you this. This one isn't helping, and Jimmy chime in here too. This one isn't helping Rick Barnes' cause a little bit in terms of the people who live and die with the recruiting rankings. And I'm like you. You look at some of the 3 stars that turn out to be fantastic. I don't believe Butler. Butler made 2 championship game appearances in the row in the tournament. They had some good players, but they weren't all 5 stars when they lined them up. Ben Howland, Mississippi State. He's gone to Starkville. He's piling up the 4s and 5s. Thoughts on how he's doing that, or more specifically, for those people that are saying, like us, that Barnes is recruiting needs. What's Howland doing differently? How come he's able to get 4s and 5s so quickly?
They always have a tendency to do that in Mississippi State somehow. I don't know the draw. Maybe it's the city.
Yeah, it's Starkville, Stark Vegas. I'm like, it is a little unusual that Starkville always seems to.
I haven't looked at his entire class, but I think the best guy he got is Malik Newman, and he's from Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
So it does help if you've got really good in-state players, and Mississippi has had some pretty good players that Mississippi State's been able to get, and they've been able to get some that are not from Mississippi.
Yeah, which is, and look, I've been to Starkville. People are very friendly there, but it always makes me wonder how a guy from New York or Chicago says, Starkville, that's the place for me. And I don't mean to cast aspersions, but I'm casting them.
Well, and just the whole, aside from Mississippi State, just the whole league is recruiting at a higher level, and I think that's where, you look at Auburn's recruiting better. You look at Texas A&M with Stansberry, he used to be at Mississippi State, now at Texas A&M. They recruit much better. So the recruiting is one thing that's going to have to improve, but I think the foundation that he's building is one that's going to lead to success in the future.
And you already agree with that one. You've been saying that. So.
Oh, yeah, because he can develop players. He doesn't have to have the 5-star guys. He can get the 3, 4-star guys and turn them into good college players.
Well, I guess that's the only, the trick is how do they play together? I mean, we've seen there was one of those Calipari teams. There's always the outlier, but he had a team that was built on 4s and 5s and went to the NIT.
Well,
so
here's the thing too. When you recruit, as Isaiah's pointed out and it's been mentioned, if you're recruiting players that you're planning to develop, doesn't that usually mean as a true freshman they're not going to help you that much? That it's going to be a little bit later down the road, which to me means the fan base is going to have to be pretty patient.
and when you've had
regards.
4 coaches in 7 years in basketball and about the same numbers in football, I think a lot of people in this fan base are tired of being told they have to be patient. Although it's a reality. I think I understand frustration when it's like, when? Well, every time you change coaches, you're starting from scratch. It's not like, well, somebody's building on somebody else. You're pretty much having to restart the motor all over again.
Well, let's go ahead and be like Georgia football, get rid of a proven 10-game winner and hire a defensive coordinator. You know, I mean, just if that's what it's always what would be better. You know, what are you going to get besides? So it is going to take time. The guy's been track record of 17 years of success at Texas. He's going to year 3 will be the task because next year they'll be better, but they're not going to be a NCAA second round type team, but they'll be better. But then year 3, where are they going to be at? And that's what I think the fan base needs to wrap their mind around. That's reality.
And the problem is you've got some people in that fan base and you got some people in every fan base that want somebody else. When the coach is hired, they wanted somebody else, and they will actively work against that person on social media, call-in shows. They will actively work against that person every day, regardless of what he does. You've got people in this town, I could name the names, and you'd go, yeah, that's so-and-so and so-and-so. I know who they are. They work every day to say something bad about Butch Jones.
And what's the point of that? See, that's what intrigues me. I mean, so you may disagree with something that a coach does.
Yes.
But how are you helping anything? You're certainly not helping recruiting. Where are you going with this? I mean, I don't understand that. I've even heard people questioning Rick Barnes already. Really? Are you kidding?
I've sat in recruiting seats with recruits and parents on football recruiting weekends, and you have to explain to parents and to kids when a fan base of 100,000 people starts booing, even it's Dooley, even though they're not very good, or it's Crompton, who wasn't a quarterback that the fans got behind. Might not have been, but if a fan base starts booing them and you have recruits in the building, that affects their ability to recruit players, period. And so if the fans are going to have second guessing, all that stuff, they pay a ticket, they have the right to do it. But they also don't have the experience in the background. They don't know what's going on within the program. Yes, voice the opinion, but do it in a way, look at the big picture. Look at the whole environment of what else is out there. What's the reality? I could go on and on about it, but I hope that the fan base just gives them time that they deserve and they need.
Isaiah, you played under Jerry Green. This was a guy that was going to the tournament every year, winning. Your teams won 20 games every year, yet the coach was not popular. How much did that, going through that, how much did you pay attention to what was going on in terms of the negativity around your program?
Not a whole lot. We took it and we listened to it, but at the end of the day, I mean, we were so focused on the win and so competitive that it was only fuel to our fire. So it actually helped us out in a lot of ways until the end of his run there, and it kind of hurt him. But it can be used as a good thing. All
right, so we got Mark Pancrat saying don't boo. We got Isaiah saying boo. Boo their heads off. Isn't that what you just said? Okay. Shy Tuttle, bowl game, not happening. Shy Tuttle won't be ready for the bowl game. Transfers and Kurt Magid. Kurt Magid he's not going to be ready. He was on crutches going through the T. Mm-hmm. Everything I'm hearing is he's gone.
Me too.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard. And from several sources, they feel like that he doesn't even want Tennessee to petition for that 6th year. He wants to move on. He's hoping he'll be healthy enough to go to the NFL Combine. He has been invited to participate in the NFLPA All-Star Game. Mm-hmm. There are only 3 college All-Star games this year. There used to be 5. And that one's out in California like January 23rd. But he can't accept an invite yet, not knowing if he's going to be healthy enough to play.
Can't blame him for leaving. You have such a short, as a football player, you have a short time span, and we've had injuries, which he's had. I understand a man saying, I'm going to try and make my money while I can.
Can I hit on the transfer wire real quick for basketball? Don't be surprised if Tennessee, with the loss of McGee, is out trying to work the transfer wire for college basketball, because at mid-semester there's going to be a lot of guys that are so-called unhappy by the recruiting process of where they're at. Now that scholarship is available, they could add someone mid-semester.
Does the NCAA need to do something about that? Because you're now to the point where you have 400, 500 people transferring every offseason. That's not an exaggeration. I think it was 4 something last year. It's an incredibly the turnover in that sport is remarkable year to year. Does the NCAA need to do something about that? I mean, your program is it's a different team every single season. Do you need to fix it, or is that just the way it's going to be and you like it?
I don't know what they can do. I think it starts at the recruiting process of you're selling a kid all this playing time, everything's great. You know, look how easy basketball is. You don't got to go to class. Then boom, you come to school, and now there's a whole different level of accountability, and guys aren't happy, and they want to go to somewhere else where they think they're going to be happier. I don't know what you can do.
Here's the thing, and I'm not sure that there's much you can do, but I thought this was interesting. I had a conversation the other day with somebody that said anybody wants to transfer, let them transfer right away and be eligible that very next year at that school. How many basketball transfers were there? Like 500?
Yeah,
this
it's
past?
400 and something.
Well, how many do you think they're going to be if you can play for Tennessee in December and then play for Florida in January? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that'd be 1,000. You know, if anybody doesn't start, mom and daddy are going to say, we need to get you to some other school.
Well, coaches would be recruiting other rosters more than they'd be recruiting high school kids. It would be mayhem.
I think it's a problem. I know the idea that you lock these kids in, but nobody wants that. That's the other option is you really make that transfer more difficult. But when you've gotten to the point in basketball, you haven't seen it in football at these numbers. But
they're gaining.
They're gaining, and the thing. But you've got at least an 85-man roster.
Yeah.
Where in basketball, you're turning over a third of your roster every year. Your thoughts on being able to transfer?
I kind of got a biased opinion. I like the power in the players' hands. Of course, you don't want it to get out of control, but I mean, a lot of times colleges overpromise and underdeliver.
Right.
And in that case, and who knows how much that happens, you know.
I would say it happens quite a bit.
Right.
The one thing I think they should let kids transfer more is when a coach leaves. If a coach takes another job, I as much as fan bases want to believe that they come to a school because of the orange and white, in-state kids maybe, but so many times it's because of a system, because of a coach and what they promised them. Coach leaves, takes a job to increase his paycheck for his family. Well, if I'm a player, I should be allowed to then go leave somewhere else and go play somewhere else.
Increase your paycheck.
Yeah, but here's the problem with that, and John, I think we've talked about this before on radio, and that is if you open it up, you know, coach leaves so everybody can scatter, that's a good way to destroy an entire program like that.
It is.
So you have to take that into consideration. Imagine if in football Lane Kiffin had gone to USC. They tried to take a few. What if he just had half the team transfer out there? All right, so in football you're having to sign 40 new guys out of nowhere. That's
then you better go hire a coach that has a good following that's going to bring some to him.
Right. All right, last question for I'll let Jimmy close us out here. Next year, Tennessee is going to face 4 new coaches when you count Virginia Tech. And you got Georgia, you got Missouri and South Carolina in the SEC. You could have 3 freshman quarterbacks at those SEC schools going against you. You're going to have a question mark at quarterback at Virginia Tech as well. We talked last week about 10-2. If Tennessee doesn't win 10 next year, is that a make or break situation for Butch Jones?
No, I don't think it's make or break. I think it's you've got to. If you win the right 9 and you win the East Division, you're okay.
Yeah.
So no, it's not a make or break if you don't win 10. But if you win 8, 9 and you lose to Florida again and you don't win the East Division, it's still not make or break, but it starts creating more doubt among the fan base.
At the same time, though, I think it shouldn't. Not when, again, I had a conversation with somebody this week, and I'll end it on this. I had a conversation with somebody this week who was saying, well, I haven't seen anything out of Butch Jones. I said, really? You can't tell the difference between the program today and the program he inherited, the one that was struggling to beat Kentucky and Vandy. That's the one you can't see, that he has taken the program from here to here. You're like, well, I don't care about that. He didn't win the big games. To me, you know, even if he has a
chance to win the big game.
Yeah, but you led in all those games.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see next year if he doesn't win 10 games or the right 9, what the response is. But if I'm Dave Hart and the whole thing has been trying to solidify that football program, I'm not looking for reasons to make a change. I think there are some in the fan base, every fan base, that want change. They want to get rid of somebody at all times. They want it. Well, what about Dave Hart? Can we get rid of him? Jimmy Cheek. Oh, God. Everybody hates Jimmy Cheek, especially this week. Everybody wants rid of him. Dave Hart. Rick Barnes. You know, some people are complaining. At some point, you should want people to stay. At some point, you should want your program to be stable for a change. All right. When we see you next, it will be Sunday at 11 a.m. on WATE 6. We'll know the Vols bowl destination. We'll talk more basketball. See you next week. Thank you very much.